information software is all we do. So our company is focused completely on the library. There is, I'll come back to that as a question. We're very proud of our history with libraries. We have a great passion for libraries, and we love working with you folks to help libraries do great things for their patrons. So our goal is to help you offer better services to your patrons. Sierra, which is the system we'll be looking at today, we are now in more than 500 library systems, more than 2,000 libraries. And then just some really quick stats on us. Innovative has been in this business now for 35 years. We have a large number of employees. That number is worldwide, not just for the U.S. offices. But one of the pieces that we're very proud of is that 150 librarians. So we are actually the largest single employer of librarians in the state of California. And the reason we have chosen to make sure that we have a librarians on staff is to make sure we are really developing this software in a way that works for our libraries. We are in 66 countries. We have 2,400 systems worldwide and 9,500 libraries worldwide use innovative systems. I also really like to mention this graph because I think it speaks to what our priorities are here. Notice that of our staff, 23% are in product development, 38% in customer service, 21% in implementation. So 82% build and support of products. Our sales and marketing and our administrative staff are relatively speaking a pretty small piece of the pie, and that is on purpose. So Sierra was released about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. It's been adopted at a very rapid rate, and we think the reasons for that include our reputation for really stellar software that is both functionally rich and very easy to use, but also moving that then into the more modern architecture of the Postgres relational database. I know we've talked about a lot of that in our RFP response. The unified client. So we've gotten away with our Sierra software from the notion of having to go in and out of modules. So instead of having to go into cataloging module and then leave and go into circulation to do a different set of tasks, in fact, what we do is have a single unified Sierra desktop, and that is all permissions-based. So whatever a particular staff member has permission to do can all appear in that single unified desktop. We are going to take a look at the current version of that, which is our Java-based desktop, but just so you folks know, we are moving that to a web interface, and so by the end of 2015, all of the staff functionality will be available through the web. And it looks like the one we're going to see today, but it will be a web-based, so there's no loading Java onto your individual workstation. We have a reputation for excellent customer service, and we've been building trusted solutions for over 30 years. The things that we're going to talk about for you today is we have proposed Sierra, and again, I say it over and over again, but that depth of functionality combined with the ease of use. We are going to look at some particular workflows today because we need to show you what the staff can anticipate working with. But be aware that there are lots of different options for different ways of setting up those workflows. And so we sometimes joke that there's 5 ways to do everything in a Sierra system. But the goal there is to help you understand that there's a great deal of flexibility in how we set up so that it matches the workflows that you are doing. You guys know what your challenges are and how you want to better serve your patients. So lots of flexibility with that. Of course, OnCore, the idea behind Discovery is that you can search in one place and get all of the resources that are available to your students. But you're also, instead of just sitting into Google, you're getting resources that are vetted by the library as having educational value for your students. And then last but not least, I'll mention we don't really have a way to show, well, we're going to show you a little bit of the movement from OnCore into a Union catalog, but you all will, because you're in Michigan, have the option to join the MilCat Union catalog and resource sharing options. I suspect you did that in the past through your relationship with Western Michigan? Did you all participate in NCAT with that?
No.
No, you did not, okay. So are you familiar with NCAT and the Union Catalog options?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess one of the things that's nice about the particular option of choosing Sierra is that in that environment, it's all absolutely automatic, unmediated request and resource sharing. So if one of your patrons, one of your faculty or staff or students sees material anywhere within that Union catalog, and the learner will say that that's available to them, they can click on it, and through no intervention with staff, that request will be placed, and the material can be sent. So you've really expanded your reach of your what materials you have available to your students. And unlike in the situation, and if you weren't participating, if folks are on non-innovative systems, they can still participate, but it takes a little bit more intervention with uploads of records and such. And within a Sierra system, you guys would be completely, it would be unmediated, no staff intervention required. So without further ado, you guys have my contact information. I'm going to turn it over to Valerie. I'll introduce her. Valerie Chase is our product engineer, and she's going to sort of drive us through the Encore and Sierra pieces, and then we will make sure we leave time for questions.
Okay, hi. This is Valerie speaking, and hopefully on your screen now what you will see is a sort of Google look and feel search box. Are we seeing that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, and we sort of, we have many customer sites, and one that I'll reference that, you know, obviously because it's the web, there are many things that you can do with your search and how you're directing students. I'm just having sort of the generic search box, and of course this can be placed anywhere. Typically libraries will put it on their main page or in multiple places. The idea is we're trying to direct our students, faculty, professors to come to the library and do searches. So this is a public interface. I'm going to do a couple searches, talk about some options, go over some of the highlights of Encore before we move into the staff. So let me go ahead and just do a search. So I've gone ahead and done a search. We can see now the result set that I get back. Facets down the left-hand side, which we're all used to those by now. How we present those facets or how you present those facets is up to you. Mine are all expanded. Certainly you can see that they're collapsible. As we scroll down through, the facets are a combination of bibliographic information, item information. Tags are locally defined, whether it's by staff or whether it's by different patron types that you have. It's up to you who can add and define tags, but it's yet another access point that you have for students to narrow down their searches. And I just want to go all the way down through and talk about one of the last tag here, related searches. So what we're doing here with this facet, and I like to point it out, is because we actually have, we're taking advantage of subject headings. It's the work that catalogists in the back room spend a lot of time doing. We create these access points. What we've done here in this case is we've got a search of Steve Jobs. I have my results set, and then the system has gone ahead and grabbed all of the other 6XX tags and put these here as additional suggestions. So what that means is that the student doesn't need to know it's a Library of Congress subject heading, but they recognize the term when they see it. So that I may start out searching Steve Jobs, but I really want information on Apple Computer. I now can click and get redirected. So we're just doing a little bit of directional searching for the students there. The default sort is relevant, so we have relevancy ranking, and so what we're really doing is, is it relevant? Is it in 245? If it is in the 245, is it Steve with a couple other words and then jobs, or are they adjacent? Certainly publication date and other factors come into play, but we do sort by relevance, and you can see here that title and date are optional sorts for the user to switch. Over here to the right on this top bar, I'm circling it with my mouse. In this case, I've got some redirects. And not only do I have redirects, but I've already done the search. So Link Plus is an inReach system similar to Melcat, as Martha talked about earlier. And we're all familiar with what WorldCat is. Now I want to take a second, is I had actually gone ahead and done a similar search at a site that shares your name. Whoops, it's behind my, oh, sorry about that. I lost my, okay, I'm just going to do that same search here, and the reason that I want to do that,
Oh, nice opportunity to talk about the did you mean?
yeah, see the did you mean? Did I mean Steve Jobs? Yes, I did. So this is, you can see the look and feel is very similar of my test demo, but what I just wanted to point out is a couple different things is articles are available. This is the option that the Synergy piece that you read about in our RFP response. And then notice they have a redirect to Melcat. So this is how it would work, so that if you were a member of Melcat, the user would do the search on Steve Jobs. They can do some refines. They can look at articles, and if they're interested in, oh, it's at Melcat, if they're familiar with it, or if you've done some instructional design with them, then now I'm in Melcat. Now I'm in the Michigan eLibrary, and I can actually go through and I can have them get that book for me. Okay, and also they still have their original search back here. So back to the test database. I just wanted to point that out. It's common here. You may have, some libraries have 2 or 3 options. The key is that it's already done the key. I know the hit rate, and I can just go in. So I can do some direction for my students. So let's look at a little bit about what we have here. So we have some brief bibliographic book information about the book, book jackets if you use them, item information if you have, this one has a single item, this one has some order. I can expand out to get to the detail of that. I'm just going to click on this location for a second so that you have the ability to, if you choose, in this case it's a map, so you can be as simple as the 2 different library locations, or many libraries that actually have maps of the floor layout within their library actually are directing to a specific location. Just an option to point out some of the highlights. If we go into a book, so now we still bring the book jacket with us. I have a couple of different items now that I'm looking at because we chose only to show the one on that first screen as part of the layout in this example. More of the bit of information, and you can see highlighted the actual terms that I searched on. The subject headings are redirects. And then just some examples here of Google Preview, community reviews. The openness of the system allows you to link with different third parties. What we're seeing here is novelists. So these are all third parties that you may or may not use that very easily link with Encore, allowing you to, in a sort of a single place, direct your students to students, faculty to use products that you've purchased. Also notice you have some options to do popular choices. So you can do popular choices. It's sort of, if you read this, you might like to read this, that we're all used to seeing, at other different websites. So that's sort of the look of how you can do a layout. And let's talk a little bit about now some of the things that we can do. And I'm just mousing over. So they can request it or book it. Those are two different options that we'll talk about in the Sierra functionality. But request is, I want to request it, put it on a hold list. Possibly you have a service where you actually will go and page the book and have it waiting for them. Book it is available, defined by you, if you choose for the user to say, I'm coming in tomorrow at 3, hold it for me. So some of the other things that we allow them to do, add to cart, add a tag. Add a tag is going to just tag this. And remember I showed you that that's a facet so that it becomes a searchable point at a later time. And I'll go ahead and log in now. You have to, I didn't mean to click on that, but I have to log in at some point. So there are certain things that you have to be logged in to do. Now, I was prompted to log in because I'm here on my laptop. I don't have single sign-on or any type of campus security, but that certainly is a possibility, so that if you have that, then users would just automatically be directed to this point. And so now it's telling me that I can add a tag. So tags, if you choose to use them, can be mediated or unmediated. So what I mean by that, if you want staff to review them first, they can.
Just a quick question, Active Directory integration.
Active Directory, yes. For Encore, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I kind of just glom everything into single sign-on, I guess. Because we have, truly, with all the campuses and universities that use this system, there are many, many different types of single sign-on that are being used.
ReportCast and Shibboleth and LDAP and all sorts of different schema. And there's sort of two layers to that. Well, I'm interrupting with Valerie, but if you're standing in the library, we could certainly, because of based on your IP address, could give access to articles because we know that they're licensed. But when we start doing things like placing holds or putting in tags, then that's associated with the patron, so then they do need to log in that way as well.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to, the back to results button is also always available. And I'm just going to go back to the results. And the reason that I want to do that is that I didn't want to go to the WorldCat results. These options that I'm talking about are also available here, the Add to Cart to RefWorks. And certainly if I'm just going to add a few to my cart. Certainly from this page, you can see that it's sort of enabled. I can add them to the cart. So I'm just building a cart. I can go to this at any time. And that it'll bring up the options that I have. And so now all of those things that I was talking about, since all of these are checked, now I can do them as a group. So I can request, and it will request all 4 of those. I mean, certainly you can do them one at a time, but this is a much more efficient way. I can save this list because, this is something I want to come back and work with later. I can export it to RefWorks and Note Zetera. We work with many of those. It's just the example that I happen to have. Or I can email the list to myself, whether it's a brief display or a full display. So I have a lot of options there that I can work with for research. So that is just sort of a single search. I do want to note that there are advanced search options. We talk a lot about facets. That's a modern way of searching, but we still maintain the traditional, command-driven search if you have people that prefer that method. I know ahead of time I need these, these keywords and these formats. So that's that is available. I'm going to misspell, I want managerial economics. I misspelled it on purpose. You've already seen this. Did you mean managerial economics? And so we do have a built-in did you mean, which is more than a spell checker. I gave you this example, which is looking specifically at spelling. But certainly there are other examples in there, and sometimes where we lost my, so if I do something like Tequila Mockingbird, actually what, we do what Tequila Mockingbird, and it'll say, did you mean To Kill a Mockingbird, just kind of as a, as an example, because we're always trying to find examples that sort of resonate with people. But the reason I like this one is that there's a couple things that happen. Is even though there is a book called To Kill a Mockingbird, it still had a did you mean. So sort of, well, you got some hints, but did you maybe mean this? And the other important thing to note about our did you mean is it's going against the database, against the indexing. So if you get the did you mean, you're always going to get a result. It isn't like it would say, oh, did you mean, and it'll say some word with the proper spelling, and they say yes, and there's nothing there. So you're always going to get directed somewhere. And then just going to do a quick search on chemistry. The facets are dynamic, so that now, because chemistry has some courses and some professors, now I can be redirected to my course and professor, so that your students, they may not have the course list with them, they may know their professor name but not the course, they become facets, so now we can do some directing for them. And as we talk about students, on a final note, I am going to go ahead and click to my account. So here's where we're allowing your users to have some empowerment. So I have here in the My Account my fines, the ability to pay online. We have e-commerce options. I can see what I have checked out. And certainly I can renew mark. It's showing me what my fines are. I can report a lost card, modify PIN. They have the ability, we can look through here, to have some preferred searches. Reading history is an option, so that if you choose to allow them to keep their reading history, then they have to opt in. I've opted in. But now, if I choose, I can delete and control my own reading history and export it out if I choose. Okay, so that is sort of a quick overview of Encore. And a lot of these things we are going to be reflected on the stat side of search. And we certainly can come back here if there are questions at the end. So that was the public interface. So that's what you offer to your public. What I've moved to now is Sierra. So this is the Sierra Unified Client. And so, did you all have questions?
Yeah.
Valerie, is it device aware for mobile?
Yeah, we do have a mobile version of Encore.
Yeah, so we have we do have a mobile version.
Okay.
And we did include that in your proposal.
But we have, so you run the mobile version and you have, you're given the option to do the full, if you want, from the mobile.
Okay.
So, okay, so I've gone ahead, I'd already logged into my staff client and gone ahead and done a search, because I knew that I tend to talk a lot and would be running out of time. So a couple things to point out about this search is that I went ahead and did this one because it sort of shows that, yes, we do Unicode, CJK is there. As a matter of fact, the staff client itself is available in, at this point, 16 languages. That's from the staff side. If you have staff that prefer to use a different language, they certainly can. So not only the database, but also the interface, the staff interface is available in multiple languages. If we look here at the staff search, we have carried forward the faceting aspect. So in this example, I've gone ahead and done a search, and I have the ability to facet down if I choose. We've brought the book jackets over as well. If you're using book jackets for the public, why not let the staff see them? And we have, sort of, if we're looking now at the search results, brief bibliographic information is presented to me. If I want to see the more, I have the little I that allows me to hover over. And that little I hover over will just bring up more detailed information. And the key there is what we've tried to do is that as we looked at workflows and worked with our current users, is a lot of time we're just really looking for, that brief information. Does it have a series? What is the subject heading? And then when I pull my mouse away, I haven't opened another window. I'm not lost in a sea of windows. I have my nice clean interface is presented back to me. I have quick access to the brief of if you think of parent-child, vivid parent, and child records, I have brief access to what is attached to this so that I know I have items, folds, and orders sort of immediately. The key here, and why we start here with sort of the unified desktop look and feel, is that once you're at a record, whether it's a search like this, or whether when I go to search and I'm in a list, or acquisitions and I'm in a list, once I'm at that record, when I want the more, meaning more bibliographic information or the detail of all these child records, I will always then have this summary button, and notice there are key commands as well in this edit button. So really what that means is from here, if I click edit, we're going to go to our mark. So full mark, we can talk about more in a little bit. Summary is always going to take me to the summary, the positioning, and if I click here just for a second, you can see this list that says item, order, holding, hold. So what I'm really looking at is passkey-based access to every child record associated with this bib. So what that means is that when we're talking about staff learning curve or staff talking to each other, staff having access to different parts of the record because we have so many crossovers in our jobs these days, is that I am, from a single point, always going to be able to get to that. If we stay here a minute, we're looking at order, and you can see I have payment information, selection information. If I want to see an actual order record, I just click on record, and now we're actually looking at order record information. And I know you're not exactly using acquisitions right now, but we wanted to at least give you a look and feel of what it was like. From this same place, if I item information, then now I'm looking at holds associated with items, and when I click on record, I'm looking at the item record. So I am just doing single clicks, and I'm getting to complete sets of data. If I want holds and bookings, then now I have, I'm looking at the detail of the holds and bookings. And when I go, so from this single place, I have the ability to sort of maneuver through what would have been module-driven aspects of the library world before, so that we sort of removed that, the module mentality, and it's all, everything that I do is based on my menu access. So if I go here for a second, you can see it's a pretty complete menu. These are the different things that I have access to, but I just can maneuver through them quite quickly. We have a complete macro editor that can be associated with these so that everything I do can be a keystroke. I think when we tend to demo, especially over the web, I am using my mouse as a pointer, but for those of you in the room who like the keyboard, anything can be a keyboard option. So before I move to CERT, one of the things I want to do really quickly is I'm just bringing up a screen capture. And the reason I'm bringing that screen capture up is it covers a couple things that I've mentioned. As I talk about flexibility, so this is sort of a different staff member. They have different color choice. They just want this full browse screen because I can see more titles. I don't care about the book jackets. I work in the back room. I just want to work my way through this list. Also, a shorter menu because I don't have access to as many things. And as you can see, I have my full Sierra available, in this case Spanish, but it is available in different languages. I'm going to go back to Sierra. And now let's start moving quickly through just some of the options, some of the functionality options that we have. So I'm going to just go to CERT. I'll go ahead and say yes to the due date. And I am going to point out that I will switch my receipt printer to email. Just identify a patron here really quick, and I'm just scanning in a barcode. So we sort of have that same concept. Brief information, the I hover over for the more information. We have the left-hand side that's going to sort of move me through the different areas. I'm going to check a few out. And I'm just scanning some different items. No, obviously there are certain privileges in the background that are controlling the due dates and time. As I move down through these bars to checked out items, then I have my items checked out. Everything I do with checked out items across the top. As I move down through and go to hold, these are everything on hold. All of these, by the way, are sort of, you're controlling the look and feel, and it's all sortable. What you do with holds, and this sort of, when you're talking about a learning curve, sort of becomes a theme. Now when I go to find, I have those same type of options. If there's a question at all about this, going back to the point that I said earlier, that you can get to details on an item or bit information from anywhere, if I now view this item, so remember I'm in circulation, and I'm communicating with this individual, and they have a question about order records, I have the ability to, with a single click, get to everything. So order information isn't that I have to leave and go to acquisitions. Detail on the holds and bookings, I can get to it right from here. Are there other items? Do I want to get to that information? I can do that from a single click, and then certainly if I need the full mark, I can go there as well. When I close, I'm right back where I started. So what we've worked really hard to do is keep the interface clean, let the staff move quickly to where they need to be based on passkey access, and not have to drill through a whole lot of windows and go through a whole lot of maneuvers to get right to the information that they need. So I'm going to go. So a brief look, if I close this now, I just want to say that we're going to send an email receipt on. If I'm searching, I scan the barcode first of all, and in this case, I'm doing a name search. You do get notifications. There's lots of different notifications that you can be prompted on in the system. You can have pictures if you choose to have pictures. We talked about checkout item, home side bookings. You can link patrons, and we have interlibrary loan as well, just to note a few. So that's really a quick look at the circulation interface. So moving on, and the point of time, what I want to talk about now is just sort of records in the system. We looked quickly at a cataloging record, but let's talk about how we get records into the system. And we did want to show you, knowing that you may be thinking of using acquisitions, is I have a file all ready to go, and so this would be EDI. So the key about EDI, or what I love about it, is it means that somebody somewhere has already keyed these records. They're in electronic format. So what we want to do then in our system is not only bring the bid record information into the system, but all the order record information, and if the vendor provides the invoice information. So this is a file that I can actually view. So this is just a marked file sent by a vendor that has the typical 9XX information that vendors provide, and that 9XX information will build my order and invoice information for me, so that now when I go ahead and process this, and I could have done check for duplicates. So I'm done with it. I'm going to delete the shipment. It takes me here to this invoice. So, and I just did a brief little invoice, but now I have this invoice, a couple different books. I can reject them. If you're doing an approval plan type process, you have the ability to do that, order, EDI order, and order response. But if I click here, here's the key, so that I did not have order records or bid records in the system. The vendor provided me with information. What we're looking at now is with that single click, not only did I add the mark information, but I added this order information. So now I have an order record and a mark record, so that we can look at the mark record and see, I created it today. Here's my order record that I can attach another order to, or I can just go ahead and process this order all the way through the payment point. Okay, so that's just sort of a flow, how acquisitions, if you're working with electronic vendors, it's really just a matter of verifying, yes, I want the material, and letting the system do things for you. Certainly there's some manual receipt process, and we got to barcode the books and other things like that. We have efficient ways of doing that as well, but that becomes sort of a workflow issue as the book moves through the system. The other thing that I wanted to do is just talk about, so that's certainly an order record, but we have many different ways to get bid records. You're probably using OCLC right now, whether you're creating a file and you're loading the file manually, or whether you're going to OCLC and just grabbing the record and sending it to your system. I have Sky River Open, which is just the bibliographic utility that we have and we do sell, and it works very similar as far, and the export piece works the same. So this will give me the opportunity to, again, talk about the openness of Sierra. And I'm going to do, by the way, if you have book in hand, you can just scan So I found one that had an exact hit, so this is just not a whole lot of time that we need to spend here on the Sky River side, but here's a record that I now want to have in my Sierra system. And I'm not going to export to a file. So all I have to do is have my Sierra system identified, whether it's here or OCLC works the same. And I can go ahead and maybe I want to build my 949 to create items, or maybe I just want to export. Before I export, let's go ahead and grab this. So I've gone ahead and exported. Here's the book it didn't overlay, and now I know that I've added this bib record. So I could actually either search by this bib record, or I grab that ISBN. If I go back to Sierra now, give me the opportunity to talk about some of our search choices. Certainly, indexing is decided by you. How do you want to index? Have an ISBN one. And so what I've really done there is just a single title. We went ahead and we searched that single title, and I guess I didn't grab it with my copy. And so now we're just validating that it's in the system. But it is immediate. Was what I was trying to avoid, was keying it in. And so here's this record that we just grabbed from the Sky River. I'm going to go ahead and edit it and just go over a few cataloging points. Again, it would be workflow. Do you do the mark editing piece in your bibliographic utility, or do you do it in Sierra? Certainly, it can be done in Sierra, so let's just walk through really quick. We've got some update dates, some create dates. I'm just tabbing through. Date fields always have this calendar associated with all date fields in the system. Makes it easier to enter dates. If you have controlled vocabulary fields, you can start keying or have a pop-up window available to you. The leader type fields have toggles. I'm just, toggling so that it makes it easier. Closing it out just gives me more room to work through. At this point, it's really just a mark editor. If I do a right click, it sort of gives you the idea of, I think, expected behavior. We want to be able to edit tags, add, delete tags, insert fields.